This has been a year unlike any other, and the pandemic that ripped through our community, causing great pain for so many. But being the community that we are, we came together, and our county workforce stepped up, and we are getting through it together. From rising food insecurity to economic distress, the pandemic exacerbated the socioeconomic differences in our community, and it required us to put together a budget that reflected the real-time needs and plan for an equitable recovery, requiring us to support our residents by keeping them healthy, safe, fed, housed. These are the basic functions of government, and they're covered in our budget. And this budget is supported by governments at all levels, from the federal government, and yes, thank you, President Biden and our federal delegation, to our state government, and yes, thank you, Governor Hogan and members of the General Assembly. And I especially want to thank Council President Hucker and Councilmember Katz, then Council President Katz, for your steady leadership during this challenging fiscal year. It was also a challenge for so many in our community who were looking for a safe place to be, because we know that the safest place to be for anybody was inside a safe home. And as the council's lead for homelessness and vulnerable communities, I am extremely pleased that this budget does a bunch of different things, including expanding the county's rental assistance program, boosting monthly supplements from $200 to $400 a month. And that is the first time that the monthly assistance payments have been increased in the program's 20-year history. And so I really appreciate working with Fed Committee Chair Reamer and HHS Committee Chair Vice President Albernaz and our fellow Joint Committee members Rice, Drawando, and Friedson for making that happen. Looking ahead, this budget continues to focus on and prioritize our most vulnerable and low-income residents with the creation of a homeless court docket and the expansion of mobile crisis teams, so that we continue our efforts here to make sure that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring. And we also know that the pandemic has changed so many aspects of our lives, not only the way we operate, the way we do business, but the way we govern. And while many residents were able to work from home and telecommute over the last year, not everybody had that benefit, especially our frontline and essential workers, to whom I am eternally grateful, recognizing that their need to get to work because they had no other options helped us adopt a policy where we eliminated fares for ride-on buses. And that policy also came about because we wanted to maintain the safety of our hardworking bus drivers, for whom I also express my appreciation. And as we continue our push toward transit equity, we took another step in eliminating fares for more residents. And I appreciate Councilmember Reamer's proposal to make bus fares free for seniors and individuals with disabilities, recognizing their dependence on public transportation. And it was also a pleasure working with Councilmember Rice and all of my colleagues on successfully advocating that ride-on remain free through October 1st. And while my individual proposal to have fares made free for the entire system was a bit too costly for this constrained budget, I think it does provide a route for us to chart in the years ahead as we continue moving forward with transit equity. And speaking of routes, we also provide more funding to ensure students have safe routes to schools, with the increased funding thanks to Councilmember Drawando and my T&E colleagues, Chair Hucker and Reamer. This budget also does a lot of good for the environment as it increases funding so that we can purchase more electric buses, which is a critical component to meeting our climate goals, because we know that emissions from the transportation sector make up the second largest source of pollution here in Montgomery County. And the environmental programs also enhance backyard composting so that we can further reduce our waste stream here in Montgomery County. I also want to extend my appreciation to the GO committee for their work, especially their efforts to stand up the county's public financing system. which will begin in earnest being used in the next few months. And so I appreciate the committee strengthening that program, and a special appreciation for Chair Navarro for her work there and for the legislation that she'd previously passed to strengthen that program, which is now fully funded. During this year, one of my refuges was the outdoors, and our magnificent park system. And it was really one of the only ways where I was able to get fresh air when off of our Zoom meetings, countless Zoom meetings, and get some fresh exercise as well. And I appreciate the Parks Department's creativity and nimbleness to rethink how people enjoy our green spaces and our greenways. And I appreciate Councilmember Friedson's leadership as the lead for parks, and also enjoyed our site visits throughout the year to see how the parks were accommodating the new needs. And with regard to the capital budget, the place we landed today, I think, is a good one, recognizing the unique funding opportunities at the state and federal level to support our schools and our infrastructure. It is an optimistic approach, but I will share that this glass is half full. So looking back, I am proud of everything that we really have done here as a council, for council staff, and appreciate the original budget that was sent over by the executive. And I'm in my office. I look forward to seeing more of us in the Capitol, in the council building. And when you come into my office, there is a sign by the door that says, "We rise by lifting up others." And that has been my motto from day one since joining the council. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my team who shares that same motto. So I just want to thank Valeria and Bianca, Sean, David, Noah, Dory, and Alex, because their dedication to helping our residents is what public service is all about. And so in closing, across the board, Montgomery County residents over this last year have shown remarkable spirit, remarkable passion, and dedication. And we have been getting through this together. And this budget provides them with the best services possible so that we can begin building back better.